Hello, everyone, and welcome to the ToB Film Club. Normally, this is something that we reserve just for our Patreon subscribers, and we do one every month. Dan, what was the movie last month?
Pop quiz. Coherence. I remembered it.
Right. And that one was a little bit more
Everybody's
heated.
favorite movie, Coherence.
I'm gonna stand by that movie for the rest of my life. You guys,
That conversation was pretty heated. If you want to hear it, all you have to do is be a Patreon subscriber. But this episode is
Will be heated in a different way.
You're right, exactly. Because we've got the fires roaring in the background. Santa Claus is here to hang out with us, and we're doing a film club for everyone, a Christmas gift, if you will,
Sure.
for all the ToB fans out there, whether you support us on Patreon or not. And we're going to be talking about today A Christmas Story. And I hadn't seen it in a long time, and I'm gonna be honest, guys, this movie's pretty fucking good.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's very good. So
it's probably a perfect movie.
It's brilliant. Just like it's so good. We'll dive all those things, but we're gonna keep this pretty casual. You know, this is a fireside chat, if you will, and we're just gonna talk about any memories that might come up, Christmas memories, and we're not gonna talk about the worldwide pandemic.
That's gonna be.
We're not doing it.
Very
We're not doing it. We're not doing it. This is all.
Okay, noted. I'll try.
This is just all positivity here. Okay. It's a great movie. This is a great podcast. Everything is great. Everything's great, and we're going to talk about just great things today. That's the moral of the story. Just to distract everyone from the perils of real life. So let's just get right into it. And I'm just gonna, I was just mentioning, Dan, before we started recording, that I think this movie's hilarious. I was laughing out loud in every other scene. Probably, it's so earnest. It's honest about sure, everything's heightened, but it's all heightened through this the lens of a kid.
Yeah, you're seeing it through his eyes,
Right,
and everything is so much more dramatic. The stakes are so much more high
Right.
because of that.
Nothing is important
Yeah.
though. If you really think about it, nothing that's happening here is really that important. Here's the thing, though. The framing device is very weird. There's this narrator who's the older version of the main character, but it's are they watching a home movie, narrating it, or are they is it they're just remembering it? But it's not played like that, because it's played like he's watching the events happening, because he says right at the beginning, "Oh, look, there I am," right? That is weird. I don't think you could get away with that with a movie today. It just wouldn't work.
Well, it's almost like he's reading a Christmas story,
right?
Kind of thing.
Right. But he's also describing it from the point of view of him
Right.
as a kid. He's living those same emotions too. I do think that it was a bit of a trend in the 80s to have narrators like this. I know that there are other similar movies from the 80s.
And this movie's from 1983.
Yeah.
But it's actually set in the 50s. It seems
I think 40s.
the
Yeah.
40s maybe. Yeah, it's the cars are very old. All the people are wearing hats. But fedoras and stuff. You know what I'm talking about.
They're just dressed fancier.
Yeah, I mean, they go out for dinner. And by the way, full spoilers for A Christmas Story. If you haven't seen it, I mean,
There's no such thing.
it's
as
not really.
spoilers
I don't know how you can spoil it.
Yeah.
Nothing happens. Really, nothing happens in the movie.
Well, a lot of things happen, but
I love every performance.
yeah.
The teacher's performance, the parents especially.
I think the dad's
great.
the best part of the movie.
He's absolutely
Yeah.
the best part of the movie. It looks like he doesn't give a shit, but then he does. It's the best. It's the best turn a character's ever made in any movie. I just loved it. So okay, where do we even want to begin here? I've got a list of notes, there's favorite moments that I was talking about. I already mentioned the framing device, which I thought was a little weird, but you're right. It's just it's an 80s thing to do.
It's you don't overthink it. Don't ask what he's reading or why. Just
right. It is based on the works of Gene Shepard. Or is anyone familiar with Gene Shepard? I thought I'd ask.
Why?
Because it was it says right at the beginning. It says based on the works of Gene Shepard.
I mean, I'm sure I could have done some research on that, but I have no idea.
Well, Dan, we don't do research here. What are you talking about? I love, like you said before, I love the dad, the father's performance. The dad is played by he's credited as the old man Parker.
I don't think there's a single bad casting here.
No, they're all
Not at
great.
all, yeah.
Darren McGavin. there's no like big names you're gonna recognize here, but I should mention. Oh, no, so Gene Shepard, based on the works of Gene Shepard, narrates the movie. So that makes a little bit more sense. I did the equivalent of IMDbing it, and that was the research we did. I don't know. Okay, Dan, I'll pass to you. What do you love? Why do you love this movie?
I think I kind of alluded to it earlier, but I love how overly dramatic it is.
Right.
Like you mentioned, because nothing really matters. These are all just events in a life.
The language that the narrator uses is so like eloquent.
And not only eloquent, but it like I said earlier, overly dramatic, and
like
it makes it into sort of a more mythological experience for that kid, because from a kid's eyes, it would be that way. You know, I think that's actually very understated in the movie, how smart of a choice that was. So that for me, but then also it's a lot of fun. You know, those little vignette like fantasy.
Right, his imagination just running wild.
Yeah, that's some of the best parts.
I forgot.
And when he goes blind, it's the funniest shit. Like he's gone blind from soap poisoning, and they're like, no, it's so good. I also really like there's also the scene with where he's imagining what he's gonna do if like the robbers come or whatever.
Yeah,
and the robbers say "cheese it," and I laughed out loud so hard because I think the only time I ever heard "cheese it" before was like Futurama.
Yeah,
and this is clearly predates Futurama, which now makes that scene even better in my mind. The Futurama scene. There's another like really funny like line that that comes to mind. It'll come to me. It's when they're talking about the sticking their tongue on the pole. Which is, by the way, have you guys ever done that? Ever stuck? Yeah, I've done. I have not too. Everyone's done it, right?
Well, everyone.
It's also in Dumb and Dumber, a huge joke.
That's
sticking
true.
the tongue to the pole.
Do you remember? Like,
I remember exactly. I was at my house on Victor Street, and the railings were just there, and I was like, I'm gonna try it. I knew about it. Yeah,
right. I also did it on my railing outside my house. Yeah.
It's one of those weird things though, because like we grew up with these movies and TV shows, so like I knew the concept of your tongue getting stuck to a railing was a thing, but I wouldn't believe it, and it's kind of what happens in this movie. Actually, the kids like they know about it, but they don't believe it until they actually see it in real life.
Yeah, it's. What I like about this movie is that it's just quintessential like Christmas stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Like we're gonna get a tree. And by the way, the tree salesman is like a highlight for me. He's like going through the trees and he's like, now this is a tree.
And then he just throws it to the ground.
He just throws them away. It's so good. And then they have this like narrator moment where he's like, my dad loves to bargain. And then it's just like this like you're like, oh, they're bargaining, and they show you the process of it basically, and I'm like this is it. I love this. Every second of this is great. I'll throw in a rope and I'll tie it to your car for you, right? And I forgot about the whole big deal about him swearing, which is
a major part of the movie.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I hadn't watched it in like years. And then he swears a bunch later.
Well, yeah, he learned it from his dad battling with the furnace.
Oh man! Hey, also, when he's really early on in the movie, like it's like the second scene, they're waking up for breakfast or whatever, and his dad is like talking about the news, and he's talking about some like stupid story of like it's the most innocuous thing. He's like, no, that's real news. I'm telling you, that's the stuff that they should be talking about. I'm like, man, that's like it's just so much. It's so far ahead of its time. He's basically reading a BuzzFeed article.
Yeah. He's such a like a classic dad figure. I guess that's the point, right? He's an archetype.
Full of beans. That was the line.
That was the one.
That was the line that I was trying to remember. You're full of beans. I don't know. It was the kids that said it to each other when they were talking about that.
That's one thing about this movie. I guess I knew but forgot. I did enjoy the movie absolutely, and it was hilarious. I forgot how many whiny, snot-nosed kids are in the movie, like really like screaming and whining, like it's just annoying.
It felt like genuine to me. Like this is like a real interpretation of like annoying kids.
Well, like there's a point where the kid is screaming because the bully is like wrenching his arm or something, and it was like truly like it sounded like it's just a real scream.
Because you got to admit, like, okay, you're like, hey kid, we're gonna do this quote unquote stunt for this movie.
Exactly.
But he's like, he just totally wrenched his arm.
Honestly, I think when I was a kid, I assumed that's how they did these things. Like I assumed that kid actually stuck his tongue on the pole, and they're like, okay, they must have gave him a lot of money.
It definitely
Well,
looks like he stuck his tongue in the pole.
I think he did. I think they probably just
No.
had the hot water kind of ready.
I looked it up.
You looked this up? So you did do research.
This is the extent of my research, but I did look this up because it was bugging me. Because
right.
There's like a little hole in that pole, and they use like suction to suck his tongue into it.
What?
Yeah.
What? So he sticks his tongue into a hole?
There's like a little mini hole, and it's a lot like air pulling his tongue.
It's a slight pull to keep it in place.
Yeah.
To make it, give you the illusion that it's sticking.
What a ridiculous thing! Like what?
I thought it was incredible. Like,
I feel like here's the thing: we've all done the tongue on the pole thing. They could have totally just got away with him sticking his tongue on the pole in the 80s. Come on, there's no rules in the 80s.
Well, you're freezing. Yeah, it freezes the skin. Like you'd have.
It kind of hurts a little bit.
Yeah, well, and multiple takes too.
Right. I guess that's a good point. Yeah, I didn't. For me, this movie just feels like, they just put a camera in this house, and then they shot some fun like imagination scenes. Like all the relationships feel, like I said before, honest, right? Like the relationship between the mom and the dad. At first, the mom looks miserable. Like she's like, she looks like she's not having any fun at all, or like happy at all.
Yeah.
And then later on, you're like, okay, she clearly likes her kids.
Yeah.
She's willing to, like, protect him after his fight. Yeah, Ralphie after his fight, and all that comes through, and even like the father figure like coming off as like just not paying attention or not caring or whatever. He only gives a shit about that stupid lamp. and then at the end he's like, there's that scene between him and the mother, and they're like, basically he's like, she's looking at him like surprised that he got her the gift,
that he showed some affection.
Right. And I just like, if all that felt normal, it's like, well, I had one when I was 8. For the record, don't get an 8-year-old a BB gun. That's a bad idea. I think that's a bad idea. Doesn't the movie then prove that it's a bad idea?
It could be a bad idea. It's a bad idea to get a kid a gun and then just let him go out in the backyard with zero supervision.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Or,
he does offer him wine too.
Yeah, well, it was a different time. You guys got to understand.
Well, I don't know. I feel like my dad offered me a sip of beer when I was like that age. Never, that's normal. And in Europe, they're just getting sauced at 8.
There's no rules.
That's right.
Jeremy, Julian and I both hadn't seen this movie in a while. Had you seen, like, is this a staple of Christmas time for you? Do you watch it?
It was actually surprising hearing that, because for me, basically every year, like, and after watching it this time, I think I may have skipped out last year, but it's become pretty apparent to me that it's like the perfect Christmas movie. I think it'd be my number one ranked one. I think
really,
from this point on, yeah. I think just based off everything we're saying, like the relationships, the acting, it all just comes off so relatable. Like in every single interaction, there's some sort of relatability there that makes it so earnest and so honest. And I think that's the brilliance of it. But it is the acting, like the main child actor, like is just, you can't, like, he's just so good. Like he nails every line.
Yeah, the kid, and even like his face during those fantasy sequences where he's just acting, just emoting on his face for a kid of his age.
Yeah, it's so dependent on him, and he just knocks it out of the park. Yeah. And to me, there's just not a bad scene. There's always something new happening. You're wondering why, and like you said, nothing really matters, or like who knows what's going on. But at the end of the day, it's all about like the gift you want, right? And and that right there is so relatable, especially when you're a child. So it's not trying to be this like over the top, like sappy message that most Christmas movies already do. This is just straight up, I want this gift, and it's a little hardcore, but I really want it, and let's see how it plays out. And he's been told, like, it's the wrong thing, and
every turn,
and like it just, and like the bullies is just so funny.
And both of them are super funny to me.
So iconic.
Yeah.
I love how they go back to that, like every now and then, in like a transition, like quick,
like fast motion,
funny music. So like to me, it reminds me of almost like a a cartoon or a sitcom where like we would visit these people for like a season, and like,
well, it feels to me like
into.
It's like what I think is brilliant about this movie generally is that it speaks to the child experience of Christmas, where most movies, Christmas movies, are like the adult experience because adults pay to go see movies, right? And there's kids Christmas movies, but this somehow, through just telling this kid's story, is super relatable to everyone involved.
Yeah,
the kids, the parents, everyone can watch this movie and feel like they get it, you know. But specifically about that, like the stuff with the bullies and going back to it, and it's basically just them showing them going to school and back all the time.
Yeah, it's just a day in the life,
which makes me at least think about my experience going back and forth from school every day around Christmas, and like maybe getting pushed into a bush or something.
Well, who knows?
And what a brilliant
things happen to different kids.
But what a brilliant turn of events, though, when
he beats the crap out of him.
Right, but it's tied in with the turmoil of you know, realizing that he's not going to get what he wants.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just so cool, that whole scene, how that plays out.
The furnace is obviously I didn't grow up in the 30s or 40s or wherever this movie's set, but that furnace is so confusing to me. Like there's this dial, there's like 2 dials, and I'm like, what is even happening here?
I don't know how it worked back then, but I do know that every dad today still fights with a furnace.
That's true.
It's just a part of being
that's
a
why
dad.
it's so funny.
And they ask, what do you want for Christmas, Dad? He's like, are you going to get me a new furnace?
And the kid is so good in that scene. Like he's just playing everything off, and he's so awkward.
And it comes like, obviously he's such a main influence because like the swearing thing comes back, and like when he says the F word for the first time, it's like this big deal, and then he has to eat the soap, and then he blames his friend.
He just rats him out.
And then it's over the phone. He's like, what?
Yeah, you hear everything.
He's just getting his ass kicked.
That is something that's crazy when you think about it. How normalized like spanking was and even is now. Like it's insanity.
Well, there's also some probably uncouth racial jokes at the end.
Well, there's a lot of that. Of course, the movie was made in the 80s.
Well, yeah.
Probably back then too.
With the soap thing, I think there's a brilliant moment written in there where
the mom takes
puts
a
it
bite
in her own mouth. Yeah, like, I think it's just so, because it reflects on how punishment or whatever is just so silly, you know.
Yeah.
But it's like that's as an adult, that's what you kind of have to just go towards when your child acts out.
Okay, so can we talk about that the tongue on the pole scene again? Because it is so
man, that actor
so
too
funny.
Is brilliant. The entire movie.
Yeah. It's like, so Flick is his name, by the way.
That's also the kid that gets beat.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Gets ratted out.
But I love his little sequence when Ralphie's mom comes.
Oh no, never mind. It's Schwartz.
And he's like trying to warn him that the mom's there. I don't know if you guys caught that little.
Wait, when?
When the mom comes to grab Ralphie after he's beating
yeah.
Flick does like a cool little like trying to like warn him like your mother's here.
Right.
It's, like, really well done.
Again, that's just like it's just like true to the kid experience, right? But anyway, so he sticks his tongue to the pole, right? And they're like, the bell rings, and she's like, you just gonna leave me here? Like, well, the bell rung, so we gotta go. We gotta go.
After he was double dog dared.
Yeah. No, triple dog dare. They skip the triple dare, and he goes right to triple dog dare. Right. And he's like, ooh.
Yeah. And that was flying in the face of custom. I remember him making a comment about that.
The music and the shots there is just so good, because like when the teacher like looks out the window, right, to do that focus, and he's just so far out there alone.
He's flailing.
Flailing. And the music is just like this perfect little like worrisome tune.
Right. And then they're like, because before they're like, yeah, I heard this guy did it, and then like the or the fire department had to come, and then the fire department comes, and then the police come,
and everyone's just watching from a distance.
The police arrive. It's the funniest stuff, man. And like, again, everything about his imagination, like when he's like imagining this scenario where his paper is gonna get like an A plus, and just this he starts reading it like it's like this brilliant piece of writing. He's like, I think the gun is the best present you can get for Christmas.
And then he gets a C plus, and she says, "P.S. You'll shoot your eye out."
It's so brilliant. This is the smartest movie ever made. I can't.
I
have
love
no
the,
critiques.
I love the first one when he's just shooting the prisoners or
Yeah.
whatever
Mm-hmm.
outside of the
X's
window.
over their eyes.
The way he's talking when he's spitting the chew.
He's the spin the chew.
It's so good.
Oh man, and then like his parents are hiding underneath the table, and like one's for some reason he's
so
wearing
good.
like a David Crockett shit.
Yeah, he's wearing a coonskin hat.
It doesn't make any sense. Oh man, it's so funny. Okay, what else happens in this movie? Again, the full of beans line is very funny to me.
The decoder pin.
Oh right,
Yeah,
he's so depressed. He's like, it's just a dumb commercial. It's a cool thing though. Like the actual item itself is like pretty cool. I thought.
Yeah,
you know?
and tuning into a radio show or whatever,
right.
and imagining what's going on.
I think it's crazy how relatable that kind of
pretty
stuff
exciting.
is.
Yeah, like the whole thing is like it's all like all of our modern conveniences. There's no television. There's like none of that stuff is there. It's just the radio.
Right, exactly. None of that's there, but it feels almost identical to a Christmas in the 90s.
Right.
You know, like it's just like, yeah, you replace the TV with the radio, but the same, like for the kid, the emotion and everything is very much the same.
Right.
And
they're go ahead.
I love when he puts the magazine ad into the other magazine.
Right. Like very subtle.
It on his, yeah. And when he's putting it in there, though, he's tucking it in like so much, like all over every edge, just smiling ear to ear. And then he places it on the pillow, like in a perfect way that she would see it. And the magazine literally says, the title says, "Look."
So the side story with the lamp is really strange to me because it doesn't really fit the theme, like the Christmas theme.
Yeah, that one has nothing to do with Christmas. He just won a prize.
But when he goes out to like help her figure out where in the window to put it, he says the line, I wrote it down, indescribable beauty. For a plastic leg lamp. Yeah. And like the kid goes to touch it and she's like, don't touch that, because there's like a butt cheek exposed at the top of it.
And then even the husband and wife's little like drama over it later on, right?
Like
it's so funny.
She breaks it on purpose, and
then he calls her out for being jealous and all that stuff. It's just a funny
jealous of what?
Yeah, it's just a funny little mini story that is also I think relatable to older people or parents watching it.
Yeah,
just like bickering around the holidays and fighting over the petty stuff.
He says for some reason not a finger when he goes to like find the glue.
Right. You used all the glue on purpose.
He's like clenching it, and it's just like pushing even more.
He goes out to buy glue,
and then even before. I love when they're getting it right, because the music is just amping up. It's so rapid. The kids are just like, "What is going on?"
It's the biggest giant crate
is brought in. The music's amping up again. The kids are just astonished. The crowbars, ripping it open. He hops inside. He's throwing the hay bales.
The stuff is throwing around.
It's
but again, for a while too. He's throwing it for a while. It's like he's digging. For it.
That's the thing, that this movie like does not shy away from lingering on a joke for maybe too long. Like there's the joke where the younger brother is like pretending to eat food like a pig.
Yeah.
And it goes on forever.
It cuts back and forth a few times.
Goes on forever. I was like, okay, I get it. It's very funny. He's a kid who doesn't eat. He plays with his food. He's gonna, and then like she figured it out. But it just keeps going. But this is the same idea. It just keeps going. But this one works, I feel like. It's way better. It's super funny.
Right.
And if you back up even...
It must be
Fragile. It's probably from Italy. And if you back up even further, he's like, I don't know, maybe I want a bowling alley. Like they're gonna send it tonight. And she's like, how are they gonna send you a bowling alley? And he's like, I don't know, maybe they'll just send the deed. I don't know. And then, like there's just like little details, like the small little subtle things, like when they go for dinner that night at the Chinese food place, it's also a bowling alley.
Yeah,
which I think is like a nice little like clear
symmetry,
right?
At least,
yeah. And then just generally, when you're talking about that lamp side story, there's a lot of emotional storytelling told without any dialogue at all. It's like a lesson in like just showing this stuff. Like when they talk about breaking the lamp or whatever, all this stuff. They don't sure, it's part of it is narrated, but it's not obvious. Like the kid doesn't understand the context, so the actual narration doesn't provide the context. You have to do it. You have to figure it out yourself. That she broke it herself. She like the second she finds it, she doesn't like it. Yeah, she talks about like putting it in the main window. She's not saying anything. The mother
deliberately. So no, right. she's trying to say stuff and being talked over the entire time.
She's like, I don't know if that's a good idea. I just think it's good work. I'm a fan of it. Okay, so I mentioned that there's like we said, the really good eloquent narration, even if it doesn't make a lot of sense. The pig eating,
makes
the
a lot
lamp.
of sense. It's perfect.
No. Just the framing device is confusing if you think about it. Okay. Right. The tree man. We talked about that. I wrote fudge for some reason. I don't remember why I wrote
that's
fudge.
That's when he swore. He's like, except that he didn't say fudge.
Oh, right. You're
and
right.
I love that reminded me. I love the slow look the dad like turns slowly towards it just to look at him.
I like even earlier when they're like singing like Christmas carols in the car, but it's like the loudest, most annoying version.
But they're having so much
Christmas
fun.
That's the point, right? And that's kind of the point of.
And then even the dad, he's like, "Time me 4 minutes." Like he's all excited to change that.
Change the tire.
Yeah.
There's a line about like how he like switches tires and he like technically they're spare tires, but they're not actually tires or something. He's just like super cheap about replacing tires.
Yeah, he
just
probably held on to them for too long.
Right.
They
were literally bald. Like if you saw, I guess those cars didn't go that fast.
It was like just the rubber too. Like it wasn't like.
Like he actually had to put it back on the hubcap and everything.
Yeah, like it like bound. I don't know. It looked odd.
A connoisseur of soup. Why did I write that?
Connoisseur of soup.
Of soup. Yeah, I don't remember.
No, of soap.
Soap.
Of soap, because that's probably the funniest part in that soap sequence is that he goes in this whole like side aside about how he was partial to certain brands of soap. One of them was a little heady, but had a fruity aftertaste or something like that. Like, it's hilarious. He's a connoisseur.
Right, he's a connoisseur of soap, because he's had to do it a lot. Talked about the decoder pen.
Be sure to drink your Ovaltine.
He's like,
his line delivery is so good there too.
I just like that he's on the toilet doing it too. He's like the only place an 8-year-old boy can
and his
get
mom
his
is screaming at him because his brother has to go pee.
Just go outside. It's winter. Also, okay, but the dogs, the next door dogs,
the Bombasins.
The fact that they steal the turkey is insane, right? Like, if your neighbor's dog stole your turkey, I don't know what you do. I don't know what you do there. Like,
you talk to your neighbors. It's like you kill the dogs,
right? You don't kill the. I'm not saying. I was never even.
I know. I'm like you can't even be mad at the dogs.
I guess you can't be mad at the dogs, but there's like so many of them. It's crazy.
I like how they like showed it too, where he's reading the paper. Few go by, he knocks it down. There's nothing. Puts the paper back up. Few go by. Like it's kind of like just a little over the top kind of humor.
Yeah, like everything's just like I said before, just a little bit heightened, just enough. It's you think of things like just thinking of other Christmas movies. Think of things like Christmas Vacation. There is some parts of that movie that are like extremely heightened, like when he like greases up his like toboggan sled thing, and he goes like 1,000,000 miles an hour, right? Or when he
that's like essentially slapstick.
Yeah, and this doesn't.
This toes the line. It doesn't go that far, but it's good.
But it's equally to me, it's equally as funny. Like I don't.
Oh yeah, and then I think it all kind of culminates like in when they go to the mall or whatever, right, to see Santa. Mm-hmm. It's like this elaborate like snow mountain. He's all the way at the top. There's this massive line.
And it's like the weird wide angle lenses they use with the adults, where they make them look super weird and like distorted, basically from like a kid's perspective.
That's how film thinks people look from a kid's perspective.
Right, which doesn't
happen in
sense.
Other movies too.
Right.
It's just it makes them look bigger and like you said, weirder, I guess.
Yeah. It just makes their features all look unproportional and strange.
And this is like his last ditch effort, right? In trying to secure this gift. And when he gets up there, like there's obviously a bunch of funny stuff that happens. The kids next to him, the one kid wearing like the visor
goggles?
and the
whatever.
Like that.
I like
pilots,
Santa.
Yeah, the goggles.
Well, even starts great.
The elves are just so funny.
Yeah, like he's like he wants to like they're like, oh yeah, just like go with your brother, don't get lost, and you like just cut the line. Like no, you have to start way back here. And there's a weird moment with with like the Wicked Witch of the West. I thought that was a like really strange inclusion. It was like, hey, you're here to see Santa, but here's also the characters from the Wizard of Oz for some reason.
I don't know.
What was happening though? What was she saying to him?
I honestly don't know. I kind of tuned out there for a second. I was like, I was just confused by why there was a witch at all. I was like, is this another one of his dream sequences?
It was the teacher, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, she was a witch at one point. I feel like so maybe that there was a callback to that in one of his dream sequences.
Well, she was grading the paper. She looked like a Harry Potter teacher, but I don't know if that's what you're talking about.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, she did look like a Harry Potter. She did look like Harry Potter,
and they are witches.
Yeah.
But yeah, then the elves and Santa are so well played here.
If he thinks they're gonna make me work a minute past 9, they can eat my shoe.
And then they have that time frame set in place, right? And they're almost up there, and there's a couple more funny things that happen, and then he just chokes and doesn't know what to say, and then Santa says
he's climbing up.
Line. Well, yeah, it says the football line, and he agrees to it, but then he's
like a football. No.
But then But then, yeah, that's probably the best part of the movie is when he just stops himself from that slide, which the kid has been screaming, right, going down. And then he turns around and lays out the whole line of what the gun is called.
You put your eye out, kid.
And then he says it again, another adult telling him the same thing. And then ho ho ho, and then just taps his forehead and he just screams no
with his foot. With his foot.
And then at the bottom he just stays slumped in the foam pit for a while, because then we go to the parents who are just walking through,
right,
and then they find him there just
he's just dejected disbelief. There's just nothing left. He's tried everything.
It's over.
And then on Christmas morning he gets a present from his aunt, and it's a fucking like Easter bunny outfit.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in this movie. There's so many sequences that are just so iconic. The dad is the best part during that whole thing. He's like, he does not look happy in the he's like, please let him take it off. Oh man, this movie's great. I love everything about it. It's like you said, it's a perfect movie. And it encapsulates the Christmas experience in like such a wonderfully like concise way. It's only an hour and a half. Like this movie does not waste your time, which I really even towards
appreciate.
The end there, right? Like he thinks that he doesn't get the gift, right? Like they have their whole Christmas morning. And it's like a whole funny montage. Everyone's getting cool gifts. And he seems like pretty okay with it at that point, right? When he's sitting in between his parents.
Yeah. He's gotten used to rejection at that point.
Right. And then
he's like, that's life. Yeah. Even his dad says it.
It just ends on such a high when especially the dad, right? Just kind of noticing all along.
He's so proud to have gotten his kid that gift. He's so happy to do it.
And it's the last gift, right? And it's just like, it's past like the opening of the gifts in general. It's just so well done.
Have your parents ever done that to you? Ever done like the, one last thing?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
It's happened to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when I got my golf. This is more recently, and it happened again when I was a kid. But when I got my golf club set, this is like I was probably like 16 or whatever, and everything was done. It was all over, and he's like, my dad was like, can you go grab something from the closet or whatever? So I went and grabbed from the closet. There was this massive wrapped box, like it was huge. I was like, what the fuck is this? And then they had me open it. It was the golf. I was very excited about it. That's the more recent example. But like, even when I was a kid, like they did that with my N64. Yeah. It's a brilliant move. I think it's
it's a misdirect, right?
Yeah.
But that happened with me for the GameCube.
I remember I played the GameCube the first time at Jeremy's house.
Yeah.
When we played Smash Bros. That's the only time I was ever at Jeremy's house. Actually,
we were opening the family gift, and I thought, like, for sure that would be it.
Yeah.
And when we opened it up, it was like a bunch of like Disney movies or something like that.
You're like, fuck this.
And I was just so disappointed. Like again, so relatable to Ralphie. Mm-hmm. And I think my dad said something about going downstairs to grab the DVD player or whatever. And when I went down there, the GameCube box was just sitting on top of our 37-inch CRT TV.
Nice, right? And you're like, it was like, and just like it changed your life.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Did you get X-Men action figure that same year? Yeah, like the X-Men. I
think the movie ones. I think I bought those ones with my own money, with birthday money. I think maybe shortly after.
I remember it was around the same time because you were really excited to show us the like the ship. What the heck is the ship called? The X-Men ship. What? The Blackbird. Blackbird. Yeah. Wait. So the Blackbird's a real ship, like it's a real plane. And so they are we supposed to led to believe that Professor X is just so rich that he could buy a private military aircraft like the Blackbird?
I don't know if it's about him being rich so much as that he has
like
government
connected
contacts and connections.
Right. And can control anyone's.
That's true. He could just,
that's a good point. Actually, that's a great point. Yeah. He could literally have anything he wants. Yeah, that's a good. It does make you if that's how he got it. It does make you question his ethics a little bit. Mm-hmm.
Neither here nor there.
Yeah. No. What? But apropos of the Christmas spirit, where you can get anything, right? Right.
Yes.
Any final thoughts on this movie?
I really like what you said, Jeremy, and it got me thinking about how this movie is different from other Christmas movies,
right.
But ultimately has a very similar message, which is what you want out of a Christmas movie. You want that positivity, like they're trying to enforce, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. You can get anything you want.
But this movie is such that like you talked about with the presents, that mislead, right? That misdirect of the kid facing rejection and disillusionment the entire movie, and then at the end, it's like King John's Christmas. He still gets the present. It's very powerful for me, not for the same reasons I don't think, but what I like is that not only does he get the present, he also almost puts his eye out.
He almost puts his eye out. So it's like it comes full circle, and then he lies about the icicle, and she believes him. Well, or at least she pretends to believe him.
And there's a brilliant moment where he turns towards the camera and says that she bought it.
Right.
Yeah. Because that's the other thing this movie does, and it's before its time in this sense, is it does break the fourth wall, and it's relatively meta. Like even those fantasy sequences, they're sort of narrated, and even the narration itself it's like it's from the character, right? So and those fantasy sequences are him. It's like layered, It's the narrator speaking about the child's version of that fantasy, if that makes sense.
It to me there's a lot of similarities to Ferris Bueller's Day Off. This movie just from a narration standpoint, and like this experiencing it purely from the youth's standpoint, and this movie doesn't feel preachy about anything. Yeah. It's just like this is the Christmas experience. This is what it's like.
This is that's why it's specific though. It's called a Christmas story.
Right. It's relatable though. It's like right. Enough of it is you've experienced enough of these things to feel.
Well, I mean, the whole point, not to get too deep on this part of the podcast, but the whole point of Christmas and celebrations in general is that these things are very personal. So it's always going to be a Christmas story. It's not. There's no such thing as the right way to do Christmas. Everybody has their own personal traditions. Right. And that's what this is.
That being said, did you know that there's certain people who decorate the tree and then put the lights on? Those people are crazy.
It's not one of my traditions.
Listen, you can do anything you want. Just don't decorate the tree and then put the lights on. That makes no sense. It just makes no sense. That's fine. I'm just kidding. Is there any particular Christmas tradition that you feel like that could have been explored in this movie differently, or would you like to have seen, or something like that?
I think the only thing that's missing for me, and it's not really the movie does enough of it, but for our experience here in Winnipeg, in Canada, there's much more snow outdoor activity, like tobogganing, snowball fights, snowmen, more of that kind of stuff.
Well, this is in Chicago, right? So it does have it. I feel like I was thinking that, but from the opposite perspective, I felt like it was very representative of our Christmas.
It felt the same, but the movie did enough in that they used the sticking the tongue on the pole thing. Like, that's very much a winter activity. And they use snow in the movie. There is a snowball being thrown at the main character. It's just when I think about Christmas and winter in Canada, there's much more of that.
Well, I like the scene where they're getting all dressed up to go to school, and his younger brother can't put his arms down. Like that is so funny.
The kids never had to shovel. Shoveling's a bitch, and that's a part of my
That's
Christmas
true.
every year.
I don't know. My dad always basically did the shoveling when I was a kid.
I was always made to do it.
Wait, your sisters couldn't?
Not as well. I don't know. They probably did.
You had an older sister, and she couldn't.
I'm probably much like the kid in this movie, dramatizing this. It wasn't just me, but it felt like it was.
Right. Obviously, of course. And the Victor House didn't have that much snow to that much stuff to shovel.
The other one did. The other driveway.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anything else on this stuff, or anything just about Christmas movies and hey, speaking of Christmas stuff, where did my Yule log go?
Yeah.
The remote's all the way over there. It didn't work. I
don't think that would have worked anyways.
No, probably could not. So okay, let's just do again, just without thinking about this or putting any thought into it. Top 3 Christmas movies, just off the top of your head, Dan.
Okay. 2 of them are Jim Carrey movies. One of them is the Jim Carrey Grinch. I watch every year.
Right.
And the other is the Jim Carrey Christmas Carol. It's like a classic.
Yeah,
Dickens
that one
version.
sucks. But
no, it doesn't.
It does.
Forget about this guy for a second, everybody. It's a version of the Christmas Carol. It's all animated, like 3D animated. But
it's all in the like classic Charles Dickens stuff. Yeah.
It's great. It's classic Dickens in terms of the it's written. It's almost verbatim from the text, and then also like it ends up touching on some of the darker sides of Dickens' book as well.
Well, I know it's intentionally anachronistic in the fact that it's like Dickens writing, but also CG, which is not obviously didn't even exist when he wrote the book. Well, so there's that kind of there's that. Well, in the same way that like the modern day Shakespeare. Romeo and Juliet with Leo DiCaprio was like intentionally anachronistic in that way.
This one's not.
You don't think so?
Not at all, because this one is the setting in the movie that I'm referencing, the Christmas Carol, is still back then old school London. It's not a modern day retelling of a Christmas story, which would be anachronistic. It's telling that's the same story in the same time period.
Yeah, so the medium itself is what I think is the difference. But
sure, it's a modern medium, absolutely. So those 2 and. Jesus, I mean, the other Grinch too, the animated version of the Grinch. I watch every year at Christmas.
Okay, so all Grinch for Dan.
Just Grinch, the Grinch, and the Grinch.
It's a Christmas story. It's a Christmas Vacation, and it's Home Alone. Those are the 3.
Home Alone, I feel like is one of those borderline ones. Yes, it's tech. I feel like it is a Christmas movie, but it's like it's one of those things where it's like, to me, it's like the Die Hard argument. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie? No, I don't think so, because it's not about Christmas.
I don't know, man.
I think Die Hard is borderline. Home Alone not. Home Alone is for sure a Christmas movie. Christmas is so much a part of the imagery.
Well, and that one's I'd agree is much closer, just because the reason they're leaving is because like they're going on Christmas vacation and all this kind of stuff.
Just the music itself is all Christmas music. The bells.
Yeah. Christmas Home Alone 2 and 3 not less so. What aren't you?
Well, I think there's
Christmas 2
there's sequels to A Christmas Story as well.
No,
really?
No,
like shitty straight to DVD.
No, I mean I'm looking this up.
I would bet.
It's just another Christmas story.
Christmas Story.
Yet another
sequel?
Christmas story.
That's for sure.
My Summer Story. My Summer Story
Originally
released in theaters
2012.
What? That's come on.
We gotta watch it.
What do you mean? There's been a bunch of Home Alones as well.
Yeah, there's a lot.
They're just crappy. They're just taking that IP.
I don't.
Anyways,
how do I get there?
Well, maybe there's snowball fights in that movie.
A Christmas Story.
Yeah, no, I really don't think the movie's missing anything in terms of my personal Christmas.
No, I don't think so at all. I think when I mentioned it being like a season of a TV show or a cartoon, I think all those things could fill it out. You know what I mean? Like it has all those really main good parts, and then you can emphasize other things that way.
I'm with Jared. My list is very similar. It's Christmas Vacation. It's this. And it's also the animated Grinch. The animated Grinch really stands out for me as being like a touchstone. I didn't have like a staple of movies or in physical form that we like watched every year. It was just kind of like what was on TV or like what was on TBS, that kind of stuff. So but there's obviously great Christmas movies. So the Christmas Story 2, here's the synopsis. Teenage Ralphie, played by
what's the same character?
Yeah. Played by Brendan Lemasters, wrecks his dream car before he can get it off the lot. So he and his girlfriend or his friends get jobs to earn enough money to fix it before the old man, Daniel Stern, finds out. Released in October 2012. Was not even released in December, which is crazy, I think. Not even late November.
Probably
it was
never gonna
early or late October. So I'll never watch it either. Daniel Stern, Brendan Lemasters, Stacey Travis. I've never heard of any of these people. Directed by. It's just like, why would you ever think to make a sequel to this movie? It doesn't need one.
The first movie made money. That's why.
I guess so. That's a good point. It's really
still relevant, so they're just capitalizing on it.
Okay. Well, I guess we can wrap it up there. Unless there's anything else you guys want to say.
Just happy holidays. Stay safe. I know we're not supposed to talk about the pandemic.
Daniel, you're ruining it.
We're almost through it. I think. I swear, another 6 months or something like
knock
that.
Knock on wood. I think if it almost through it in 6 months are like kind of like almost oxymorons at that point, you know.
I guess. I mean, what do I know, right? But happy holidays. That's all.
Happy holidays is right. We'll be doing another ToB Film Club for this month. Dan, can you tell the folks at home what movie we're doing? Because I forget.
Yeah, it was one of your choices actually. It's Trainspotting.
Trainspotting, right? Yes, Danny Boyle. We told Rachel, who's our co-host on the Mandalorian recaps, and we told her we were doing that movie. She's like, "Oh, that movie's depressing." So we'll be saving that till after Christmas, obviously, before we talk about that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and then it'll give me an opportunity to go and watch T2, Trainspotting 2. So,
God damn it, every time.
So I'll be looking forward to that, I guess. And honestly, I haven't seen a Danny Boyle movie in a long time, and it should be interesting. At least it'll be interesting, and that'll be exclusive to the Patreon subscribers. So if you want to help support the show, if you're not doing it already, if you are, thank you. It means a lot, especially during the holidays. Head over to patreon.com/TowerBabbleCast, and for as little as $5 a month, you can help keep the lights on here and enjoy our film club stuff. Normally, they're not as fun as this one is. Not to like undersell it, but or over, whatever.
No, what you mean to say is like normally it's more analytical. Like normally we're more discussing the structure of the film and such. This is more just
we got into that a little bit here. I just like there's no critiques for this movie. Like there's nothing to like literally the only thing I thought about was wow that scene with the kid eating like a pig went on too long. That was the only thought I had during the entire movie, because like normally like at this point now in our movie watching careers, like I try to watch a movie, just enjoy it, but like also my brain is on, so it's like I think about certain things like that's an interesting choice, or maybe I might have done that differently or whatever. This movie had none of that, so that was nice. Stark contrast to our conversation about coherence. So which
is another perfect movie.
It's not a perfect movie. Let's not be hyperbolic. All right,
it's a great sci-fi movie. You guys should all watch it, and you'll thank me later.
And if you do, go listen to our film club on it, and let us know who you think is right. Anyway, the other thing you can look forward to, we should talk about this. We're going to be doing our annual ToBs, which is a very prestigious award, as everyone knows. And this year we're going to be doing it a bit differently. So normally we'd be doing it the best, the top 3 movies we saw this year, and the top 3 television shows we saw this year, and the top 3 games if we had enough games to play, games we played this year. Instead, that were released this year. Normally, it's like the ones that came out in the year. This year is just whatever the best stuff we saw this year, regardless of year when it came out.
But it's still new to us.
It's still new, right? Yes. It has to be new, right? There's a lot to be new. So, again, stay tuned for that. That'll be coming out around the new year, and then I think around then we should start getting the Oscar noms, so we can start talking about that, and that'll be fun. At least something to do. At least something to talk about. So look forward to that as well. Either way, Jeremy, do you have any before I close? I was gonna just close out there, but do you have any any holiday wishes you'd like to send?
Not really, no.
No. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Really bringing down the mood here, Jeremy. No. Okay. Yeah, we're just not even just like a happy holidays. Can we just get one of those?
I think I heard a humbug actually.
Yeah. A bah humbug actually.
A bah humbug.
There was a sheep there that was baaing in the background. Yeah. Anyway. Okay. You can find all of my hat and my headphones are falling off. You can find everything we do at TowerBabblePodcast.com or TowerBabble.ca. If you have any thoughts, comments, concerns, maybe you disagree, maybe you think Maybe you think The Christmas Story sucks. I would love to hear you make that argument if you do actually think that. Send that into towerbiblepodcast@gmail.com, and we'll be happy to read that. Well, happy to read is maybe a little strong.
I won't be happy to read it.
But I would certainly be interested.
Probably be happy to respond to it.
Right. Oh, yeah. I got to do that. I got to write a very exciting work email today, and that was basically the highlight of my day.
Yeah.
After this podcast, of course. Anyway, we'll be back with more ToB very soon, and in the meantime, have a happy holidays, a Merry Christmas, a joyous Kwanzaa. What am I missing, Dan? Happy Hanukkah. Thank you, of course. What's the one from Seinfeld?
There's a million others.
What's the one from Seinfeld?
Festivus.
For the rest of us.
Yes.
Yeah. And we'll be back with, like I said, more ToB very soon. We'll talk to you then.